Hello, welcome to Bodhicaryavatara, chapter 7, verse 22. Let me give you the analysis of it. Here we are. Idantu me parimitan dukkham sambodhi sadhanam nashtashalya vyatapohe tarutpartana dukkhavat. Again, idantu me parimitan dukkham sambodhi sadhanam nashtashalya vyatapohe tarutpartana dukkhavat. So, idam meaning this, it's neuter. The masculine is iyam, it's idam in the neuter. So this what? This dukkham, this pain, this suffering. Idam dukkham, this suffering. Idam parimitam dukkham, from the root ma, to measure. In classical Greek it is me, we got metron, we get a meter. A meter means a measure. In Sanskrit, the word for metron, the Greek metron, is matra. It's a measure, a means of measuring, a matra. An English word meter, of course. The root ma makes its past participle not as mata, but mita. The a becomes an I, slightly irregularly. So mita, for instance, mita measured. Amita, as in Amitabha, often pronounced as Amitabha, it's Amitabha. Amitabha, unmeasured light. Unmeasured meaning immeasurable, boundless. Amita, unmeasured, beyond measure, without measure. So, mita, measured. Perimita, measured around. In other words, circumscribed. Circumscribed, literally written around. It means, therefore, limited, circumscribed. Isn't it? It's got limits to it. It's got a beginning and an end. You know. Perimita. The Greek sounds like the Greek perimeter, because that's what it is. In the Greek perimetron, peri around, and a metron. So the perimeter fence is that fence that measures, as it were, that goes round the boundary. So this perimetered suffering, this limited, circumscribed, fenced off, it's got a limit to it. This limited suffering, idantu, tu, meaning however. Remember in the previous verse, 21, he was talking about these horrible things for countless kotis of aeons. He was going to be cut up and sliced and burnt. By the tu here, has a contrastive force. On the others, all these things that could happen to me, idan tu me parimitam dukkham, but, or by contrast, this limited suffering of mine. That's why it's translated as but. Note the tu that can never come at the beginning of a sentence. It normally comes as the second word in the sentence. That's why it's not tu idam, but this. But idantu, this, however, of me, the limited suffering, idantu me parimitam dukkham, sambodhi sadhanam. Sadhana, from the root sad. Let me give you. So I'm being mucked about by my. I'm being mucked about by my screen sharing device. Come on. Whenever I bring the share screen with a Word document, it just cuts itself out, which it wasn't doing before. So, the root sad, by the way, sid is, as it were, a lightened form, an alternative light form. Sad, Sid, it's essentially the same root. It has changed its shape in some circumstances to Sid. Like a Siddha means to obtain or get somewhere. Siddha, the Siddha is one who has obtained, and the name Siddha, Artha, join those together by Sandhi into Longa. Siddhartha, Siddha obtained, Artha, your goal, your objective. So Siddhartha means one whose objective has been attained. That is the meaning of Siddhartha. And it was used as an ordinary name in India. It just means successful, Siddhartha, one who has achieved Siddha, the Artha, the goal. Two points to note here. There are two particular words, sadhana. Sadhana meaning kind of the same thing. Your sadhana is often used to mean in the sense of your practice, like a spiritual practice. It's the effort you make in order to achieve, in order to get some of the sadhana. The neuter form, sadhanam, means just a means of doing something, and you can see why, from the root sad, to achieve, the sadhanam, the achieving, the way of achieving, the means towards achieving. So the sambodhi sadhanam therefore means the route, the way to achieving something. Sambodhi sadhanam, your means to enlightenment. What he's saying is that this idantu me parimitam dukkham, but this limited suffering of mine, this perimetered, circumscribed, parimitam dukkham, limited suffering, sambodhi sadhanam, which is the means to sambodhi, is like, look at the end of the next line, vat is like. So I hope I just don't cut everything off again by pulling my text up. You see it's cut it out. Oh well. This limited suffering of mine, sambodhi sadhanam, the means to enlightenment, is dukkhavat. Dukkha, pain, we know. Dukkhavat, vat is a suffix meaning possessing something, or used adverbially means like something. So it is the nashta, look at this, nashta shalya vyatapuhe. Nash, root nash, let's see if I can get my, oh, got it again, good. Didn't cut out this time. Root nash. And that's the shalya, a broken off thorn or broken off tip of something sharp. Nash, meaning to perish, destroy, be lost. Lost in the sense of gone forever and don't have it anymore. Some of my students will remember me talking about this phonetic mutation from a sh in Sanskrit, that's a sh, Vedic, going through to a k in Latin and Greek. This nash becomes actually, it means to harm, destroy. It becomes knock, the same nash, knock, by regular phonetic mutation, knock we find in Latin. Nocere is to harm. If you are in nocens, means in nocens, harming, in nocens, not harming. If you're innocent, nos and nocent comes from that same Sanskrit. Nash means you have not caused harm. You're innocent. You have done no wrong. You've caused no harm. And noxious is from that same root. You're causing harm. and in nocere became nuire in French. And then that gave a verbal noun in French, nuisance, which of course we have now directly in the same spelling or different pronunciation as a nuisance. So a nuisance, you see, that is from that same root, nash, something that harms. So here it makes the past participle, the nash plus ta, that becomes both subdotted now, so that becomes nashta. So nashta can mean destroyed or broken off and lost. So here it's a nashta shalya. Shalya means like a thorn or a splinter. The idea is that the sharp tip of something, the shalya, or something with a sharp tip. So a nashta shalya, like a broken or lost thorn. The idea is that the thorn has gone into you, and rather than coming out neatly, it's broken off and left itself embedded in you. That is a nashta shalya. So the shalya, the thorn, nashta, broken or both, broken off and kind of lost, got buried inside the flesh. Nashta shalya. So what do you want to do with the nashta shalya? The nashta shalya, let's come up here. The nashta shalya, this broken off splinter or thorn, will cause you vyata. Vyata means generally pain or affliction. So the nashta shalya vyata, the broken splinter affliction, will mean the pain or the discomfort, the nastiness of this broken splinter inside you. And what do you want to do with it? You want to get rid of it. Okay. There is the root u, which actually seems to derive from the similar root va, meaning to move or to convey. In fact, va, which is the word vehicle, is from that same root. And our word way, from the u has a specialized meaning to push something, u. And if you want to push something away, the prefix apa, cognate with our English word off, by the way, to push it off, is apa u, is to away, apa, away, off, u, push. So by santi, that becomes the a plus the u becomes u, so it becomes apu, and you make a verbal noun just by putting the uha, apoha. So the apa uha, apoha, is the pushing away, just getting rid of something. So the vyata apoha means pushing away the suffering, getting rid of this painful experience. So vyata apoha becomes vyata by santi, vyata poha. So getting rid of apoha, the discomfort, the vyata of this broken off splinter, literally is broken splinter suffering away pushing. Nashta shalya vyata apa uha. So nashta shalya vyata poha. It sounds clumsy if you translate this compound like that, broken splinter suffering away pushing, but it is good proper Sanskrit. It's perfectly elegant Sanskrit. You'll note here that the word ends in an e. Nashtashalya vyatapuhe. That's the locative. In, so in the removal. In the removal. Rather than we say in the course of the removal, while removing. So nashtashalya vyatapuhe means in the removal of the affliction caused by this broken off thorn or thorn or sharp tip or splinter. Now, in the removal of this nashtashalya, there will be some dukkha. You've got a little thorn inside you, and somebody then has to put in a needle or something. You open the flesh up with a needle, get the needle in underneath it to pull the thorn out. Yeah, that will hurt, but it's a short, limited hurt in order to get rid of this thorn that's in you. That's the point that's being made here, that the trials, the tribulations, tapas, the austerities that you need to undergo in order to gain enlightenment, gain freedom from samsara. Yeah, you've got to undergo this limited suffering, this parimitam dukkham, in order to evade the torments that have been described in earlier verses. And he's comparing this now to this very limited bit of suffering of somebody digging a needle into you to get this embedded thorn out of you. So it's the utpatana means kind of digging it out, extracting it, extracting this shalya. The tad, that. So nashta shalya vyatapohe, in the getting rid of, apohe, in the getting rid of the nashta shalya vyata, the broken thorn pain, tad utpatana dukkhavat, that digging out pain-like. In other words, it is like the dukkha, like the pain that you suffer in digging out this embedded thorn. It's a slightly difficult thing for the English speaker to get their head around the way that this compound works. Utpatana dukkha. Utpatana just means digging out, gouging out. Utpatana dukkha, the pain of gouging something out. Utpatana dukkhavat, similar to, like the pain of gouging out. But the tad in front of it, like the pain of gouging out, that, tad utpatana, that gouging out, the gouging out of that. That referring back to the nashtashalya vyatapohe. So referring back to the shalya. So this tad refers back to shalya, and you can find that in compounds in Sanskrit, also to a large extent in Pali as well. That you can get a certain word referring back not to an entire compound, but to one member of a compound. It gets a little bit complicated to explain the rules. Not that you need really to have the full explanation of them. Just bear in mind that the tad refers back to the shalya, being that one member of the greater compound, nashtashalya vyatapoha. So hopefully that's all clear enough. Idantu, this, however, me parimitam dukkham, my limited suffering, sambodhisadhanam, the means to sambodhi, the means to enlightening, is, the equational verb is, left out. Okay, that's normal. Nashtashalya vyatapohe, in the, it's the locative, in the apoha, getting rid of the vyata, of the nashtashalya, in the getting rid of the nashtashalya vyata, in the getting rid of the embedded thorn pain, tadutpatana dukkhavat. Vat, like, dukkhavat, like the pain, tadutpatana dukkhavat is like the pain of digging that out. So hopefully this is clear enough, and I will read it to you again before we wind up. Idantu me parimitam dukkham sambodhi sadhanam nashtashalya vyatapohe tadutpatana dukkhavat. And once more. Idantu me parimitam dukkham sambodhi sadhanam nashtashalya tapohe tadupardhana dokhavat. And that's it for verse 22.